What happens when a group of tough bikers stumbles upon a lemonade stand run by a young girl with big dreams? You won't believe how a simple act of kindness sparks something far bigger. The sun blazed high above Oak Ridge Heights, casting its golden glow over the peaceful neighborhood streets. 11-year-old Kiara Daniels stood proudly behind her homemade lemonade stand, a wide smile lighting up her face. Her sign, painted with care the night before, boldly read, Kiara's famous lemonade, 50 a cup, surrounded by playful hearts and lemons. Positioned outside her family's cozy single-story home, Kiara had spent the morning squeezing fresh lemons and perfecting her recipe, with her mother, Tasha, offering supervision. This was Kiara's project, a way to earn the money she needed for a class trip to the Indianapolis Zoo. As Kiara stirred her lemonade, the sweet citrus scent floated through the air, catching the attention of neighbors. The first to stop by was Mrs. Andrews, who handed Kiara 2 quarters with a smile. "This is delicious, Kiara," she said after taking a sip. "You're going to sell out in no time." Kiara's confidence grew as cars honked and drivers waved in support. By midday, she'd earned $15, well on her way to meeting her goal. But just as Kiara was handing out another cup, the deep rumble of motorcycle engines interrupted the peaceful afternoon. At first, the sound was faint, but it soon grew louder. Kiara squinted down the street and saw a group of bikers coming around the corner, their bikes shining in the sunlight. There were at least 8 riders, each wearing black leather jackets and dark helmets. The engines roared as the bikes stopped in front of Kiara's stand. The neighborhood fell quiet as Kiara's heart raced. The leader of the group, the largest biker, dismounted and approached her stand. His face was weathered but kind, his voice deep as he asked, "Is this where I can get the best lemonade in town?" Kiara, nervous but determined, nodded. "Yes, sir, 50 cents a cup." With a gentle smile, the man handed Kiara a crumpled dollar. "Make it 2. As the other bikers dismounted, Kiara felt the weight of the moment. She tried her best to keep a smile on her face, though her mind raced with thoughts. Who were these people? Why had they stopped here? What would happen next? If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. The leader took a sip, letting the cool drink linger on his tongue before nodding in approval. "Not bad, kid," he said, his voice breaking the heavy silence. "What's your name?" "Kiara," she said softly, glancing at her mother, who was watching nervously from the front porch. "Well, Kiara, I think you've got yourself a new customer base," the man said with a grin, holding up his cup for the others to see. "Best lemonade I've had in years." One of the other bikers, a tall woman with long braided hair and a jacket that read Sherry, stepped forward and dropped a $5 bill on the counter. "I'll take 10 cups for the crew," she said, her voice warm but commanding. Kiara blinked. 10 cups, she stammered, grabbing her extra cups and pouring quickly. As the rest of the bikers gathered around, the mood began to shift. The initial uneasiness melted into something almost festive. They started joking with one another, complimenting Kiara's stand, and even pulling out their wallets to tip her generously. "Do you make this yourself?" another biker asked, his thick southern drawl making Kiara smile a little. "Yes, sir," she replied. "My mom helped, but it's my recipe." "Kid's got talent," he said, handing her a $20 bill for his 2 cups. The bikers began sharing stories, laughing loudly, and clinking their lemonade cups like they were at a barbecue. Kiara couldn't help but relax, their kindness and humor washing away her initial fear. One of the younger bikers, who looked barely older than 20, crouched down to her level. "What's the lemonade fund for anyway?" he asked with genuine curiosity. Kiara hesitated for a moment, then answered, "I'm saving up for a school trip to the zoo." The group collectively awed, and Sherry shook her head with a laugh. "Well, we can't just leave you hanging, can we?" Before Kiara could process what was happening, the bikers began passing around a helmet, dropping cash into it like it was a collection plate. The clinking sound of coins and the crinkle of bills filled the air, and Kiara's eyes grew wide. "Here, sweetheart," Sherry said, handing the helmet back to Kiara. "That should cover more than just a zoo trip." Kiara peeked inside and gasped. There had to be over $200 in there, far more than she ever imagined earning in one day. Thank you so much," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement and gratitude. "You earned it, kid," the leader said, finishing his lemonade. "Hard work deserves support." Just as the moment seemed to settle, one of the bikers, a burly man with the tattoo of an eagle on his arm, grew quiet. His gaze softened as he looked at Kiara, his rough exterior suddenly giving way to something deeply emotional. "You remind me of my daughter," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The group fell silent, their playful energy replaced by somber respect. Kiara tilted her head. "Your daughter?" The man nodded slowly. "She passed away a few years ago. She was about your age, loved running little stands just like this. Seeing you out here, well, it's like seeing a piece of her again." Kiara didn't know what to say. Her mom, now standing beside her, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I'm sorry for your loss," Tasha said softly. The man gave a bittersweet smile. "Thanks. Helping her out today feels like honoring her memory, so thank you too." The group stood quietly for a moment before the leader clapped his hands. "All right, let's not turn this into a cry fest. We've got some more lemonade to buy." The laughter returned, and with it, a renewed sense of connection. As the bikers began to prepare to leave, one of them turned back and said, "We're going to spread the word about your stand, Kiara. You'll have customers lining up around the block by the end of the day." Kiara's heart swelled with gratitude as the bikers mounted their motorcycles, revving their engines in a farewell salute. She waved as they rode off, their presence leaving behind a powerful memory that would linger far longer than their noise. As the sound of the bikers' engines faded down the street, Kiara stood in stunned silence. The helmet filled with money sat on her lemonade stand, and for a moment, the entire experience felt like a dream. Her mother, Tasha, broke the spell with a soft chuckle. "Well, baby, I think you just made more in one day than most lemonade stands do in a month," she said, her voice full of pride. Kiara looked up at her mom, her wide eyes sparkling. "Do you think they were serious about spreading the word?" Before Tasha could answer, the sound of car doors slamming and chatter filled the air. A group of people from the neighborhood had gathered at the end of the street, curious about the commotion. Among them was Mr. Harris, the owner of the local grocery store, and a few of the kids who had been playing basketball earlier. One of them called out, "Hey, Kiara, what's all this about? Bikers at your stand?" Kiara smiled nervously. "They came by for lemonade and kind of bought a lot." "That's an understatement," Tasha chimed in, gesturing toward the helmet of cash. Word traveled fast in Oak Ridge Heights. Within an hour, more neighbors arrived, some out of curiosity, others to support Kiara's stand after hearing the buzz about her unexpected visitors. The lemonade stand turned into the center of the community, with customers lining up for a taste of what was now being jokingly called biker-approved lemonade. As Kiara served cup after cup, she couldn't help but notice how the atmosphere had shifted. What had started as a simple summer activity had become something much bigger. Strangers who rarely spoke to one another were now laughing and chatting as they waited in line. Parents shared stories about their own kids' entrepreneurial ventures. And even the neighborhood kids pitched in, holding signs to attract more customers. Amid the growing crowd, Kiara noticed a familiar figure. It was the burly biker with the eagle tattoo who had shared the story about his late daughter. He stood at a distance, leaning against a tree, his expression unreadable. Kiara hesitated, then looked up at her mom. "Mom, do you think he's okay?" Tasha followed her daughter's gaze. "Why don't you go find out? Sometimes people just need someone to listen." Kiara grabbed a cup of lemonade and walked over, her steps cautious but determined. When she reached him, she held out the cup with a small smile. "Here, it's on the house." The man looked down at her, surprised, and with a soft smile, he accepted the drink. "Thanks, kid." They stood in silence for a moment before Kiara spoke. "What was your daughter's name?" He seemed taken aback by the question, but after a moment, he answered. "Amelia. Everyone called her Mia. She had a stand like this one, used to sell cookies and lemonade on weekends." Kiara smiled gently. "I bet she made really good cookies." He chuckled, his voice tinged with sadness. "The best. She always said she'd open her own bakery someday. Never got the chance, though." Kiara didn't know what to say. Instead, she looked down at her lemonade stand, where the crowd was still bustling, and an idea sparked in her mind. "Do you think maybe helping me today was like helping her in a way?" The man's eyes softened and he nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think it was." As the conversation unfolded, Kiara learned more about the man whose name was Doug. He explained how the loss of his daughter had left a hole in his life, and how seeing Kiara's determination and warmth had reminded him of Mia's spirit. "I know I can't bring her back," Doug said quietly, "but I can honor her memory by helping kids like you. That's why we bikers do what we do, help where we can, even if people don't expect it." Kiara smiled up at him. Thank you for helping me. It means a lot. Doug placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Keep chasing your dreams, Kiara. You've got a good heart. Don't ever lose that. As Doug rejoined his biker crew, who had gathered on the other side of the street, Kiara felt a new sense of purpose. The kindness she had received wasn't just about the money. It was about connections and hope. It brought to everyone involved. When Doug and his friends finally left, Kiara noticed a small folded note tucked under the helmet of Cash. She opened it, her heart racing as she read the handwritten words. For the brightest light on a summer's day, keep shining. Doug and the crew. Tears welled up in her eyes as she handed the note to her mom. They didn't have to do all this, she whispered. No, but they wanted to, Tasha said, wrapping her arms around her daughter. That's what makes it so special. As the sun began to set, Kiara realized the day wasn't just about lemonade or money. It was about people. The stories they carried, the kindness they shared, and the connections that could change everything. By the next morning, the buzz around Kiara's lemonade stand had grown even larger than she could have imagined. The bikers had kept their word, spreading news about her stand on social media and through word of mouth. Posts with pictures of Kiara and her stand flooded local Facebook groups, accompanied by captions like "Support this young entrepreneur and best lemonade in town," approved by some tough bikers with soft hearts. Kiara barely had time to take a breath before her first customers of the day arrived, a line of cars stretching down the block. Parents with children, elderly couples, and even workers on their lunch breaks came to see what all the excitement was about. Wow, look at this crowd, Tasha said, peeking out the front door. Kiara, you're going to need an assembly line. Kiara laughed, though a bit overwhelmed. Her best friend Mia had shown up to help, and together, they served lemonade as quickly as they could. The stand had become the center of attention. Neighbors who rarely spoke were now mingling, chatting about everything from summer treats to the bikers' surprising kindness. Kiara's lemonade had turned into something bigger, proof that small acts of kindness could spark change. I heard what happened yesterday, said Carlos, who ran the hardware store nearby, handing Kiara a $20 bill. We need more kids like you. Thank you, sir, Kiara replied, her hands sticky from pouring. The crowd grew, and soon Kiara's mom, Tasha, stepped in to help. She made trips to the kitchen to prepare more lemonade while Kiara and Mia kept serving. Even some of the neighborhood kids pitched in, holding signs to direct traffic. By mid-afternoon, Kiara had already raised far more than her original goal. We need a bigger pitcher, Mia joked, wiping sweat from her forehead. Then, the unmistakable sound of motorcycles roared down the street. The bikers had returned, this time with even more riders. They parked their bikes in a row and waved at the crowd like local celebrities. We couldn't stay away, Doug said, handing Kiara a box of cookies. Thought these might go well with your lemonade. The bikers helped manage the line and entertain the kids with their motorcycles. Sherry took pictures of Kiara with the growing crowd. I think we broke the record for the busiest lemonade stand in Indiana, Sherry laughed. As the day went on, Carlos and a few others had an idea. What if we made this a regular event? Carlos suggested we could set up stands all over town and donate the money to kids' programs. Kiara's eyes lit up. A lemonade day. Exactly, Carlos said. You could be the inspiration for it. The crowd cheered, and Kiara felt a surge of pride. Her small lemonade stand had become something much bigger. By sunset, the last customer had been served, and the bikers were preparing to leave. Doug walked up to Kiara with a kind smile. Kiara, you're proof that even small ideas can bring people together. Keep dreaming big. Kiara nodded, clutching the note he'd given her the day before. I will. Thank you. As the bikers rode off, Kiara sat on the steps of her house, looking at her now empty stand. What had started as a simple goal had turned into something unexpected. The lemonade stand had left behind more than just a clean lawn. It had created a legacy of kindness and connection. Tasha joined her with 2 glasses of lemonade. So how does it feel to run the most successful lemonade stand Oak Ridge Heights has ever seen? Kiara chuckled, sipping her lemonade. It feels amazing, but not just because of the money. I didn't know something so small could bring so many people together. Tasha smiled. That's the power of kindness. When you give even in small ways, it inspires others to do the same. Kiara glanced at the money sitting beside her, more than enough for her zoo trip. Mom, do you think we could donate some? Maybe to help kids who can't afford school trips or supplies. Tasha's eyes lit up with pride. That's a wonderful idea. Kiara thought about Doug, his story, and the bikers' support. I want to make people feel the way they made me feel today, like anything is possible. As the stars twinkled above, Kiara felt grateful. Her lemonade stand had started as a small dream but had grown into something greater, a lesson in generosity, the strength of community, and how people can change each other's lives.